Is Shrove Tuesday, otherwise known to the Catholics as Shrove Tuesday, known to us as Mardi Gras. But
Today's Mardi Gras? I didn't even know
today
that.
is Mardi Gras, but today is also normal at the Capitol. Notice this is not a green screen background. We are actually here, and you are jumping in with us into the rotation. I did not know actually today was Mardi Gras until I listened on the radio on the way up here last night, and Sirius XM radio reminded me that there's a Mardi Gras station. I'm saying, why are they having Mardi Gras if it was like 2 weeks ago? Then I realized, oh boy, I screwed up.
Yeah, what are you like confusing Mardi Gras with Gasparilla?
Don't want
I
to do
get that
that
way.
because there is no similarity whatsoever to Mardi Gras and Gasparilla.
I prefer Gasparilla to Mardi Gras because it's like, more like pirates and less like Catholic stuff.
Then you also have that parade right over in Ybor City the week afterwards.
Yeah.
The parade of what was it?
The crew of Saint Iago.
The crew of Saint Iago. Saint Iago, for those of you who don't know, is the saint of the patron saint of lost Cubans.
Is that really it? I had no idea.
The ones who floated over here and stayed,
That is actually absolutely perfect for Tampa because Tampa is typically like white people gentrifying Cuban culture. Like, for example, putting salami in Cuban sandwiches and saying it was their idea all along to make a Cuban sandwich.
Is that the real reason why vegan? Because you couldn't have a really good Cuban sandwich without them interfering with salami. I have a friend of mine who is also Cuban and Jewish. He puts in corned beef, but we won't get into that now.
Maybe instead of advocating for cannabis reform here at the Capitol, we should just advocate for sandwich reform.
We are here actually pushing the bar as far as cannabis reform is here in Florida. Now, I have been told that this is the place where woke goes to die. And I've also told it's a place where pre-rolls go to die. And in fact, I think we killed some on the way here, so I guess that's about right. No, we didn't do pre-rolls at the Capitol. We did dabs. Anyways, the point is we actually came here to change the laws because most of the laws they're putting through right now here in Tallahassee are not on the positive side. They actually have a bill right now that is going through that will make it so all level 2 background checks will look for whether you have a medical cannabis card or not, meaning if you have to take a level 2 background check for an apartment or for a job or for anything, they will note that you have a medical card and possibly refuse that job or that apartment or whatever else. And that is just plain wrong.
I thought we had this bill coming through today.
We do, and it actually interferes with it because we actually have a bill.
Medical marijuana public employee protection.
Suncoast Normal wrote it. It is an Employee Protection Act, which basically states you cannot be refused employment or fired for having a medical card. And it flies directly into the face of that because you have these jobs, especially when you're working for the government, you have to have a level 2 background check. Or these things that are government adjacent, like contractors who work for the Department of Children and Families on a contract basis. Everybody there would lose their jobs.
Oh, in the state of Florida, how it goes, being an employer in the state of Florida, I know it's pretty easy to fire people.
Oh yeah,
you could simply.
You do it all the time over at Chillum, don't you?
I believe I could just simply fire somebody just for being ugly.
Don't worry, Olivia. You're gorgeous, and you're going to stay there. You're a little skinny, though, but we're going to work on that. What you need is more Cubans with corned beef in it.
Oh, jeez.
Or is she vegan, too?
She is not vegan.
Oh, good. You haven't infected her yet.
She is not a vegan.
Now, we have a number of bills that we've been pushing, and we actually have this nice little sheet that we're passing out to all the representatives and senators about the bills that we have. Now, one of the bills we have is a medical use for marijuana by out-of-state visitors. We have over 120 million visitors in the state of Florida each year. If only 10% of those folks had medical cards from their states and wanted to use it here, they could get arrested. And, of course, you can't bring cannabis across state lines because it's federally illegal. And so, therefore, if you're going to use medicine here, you have to buy it here. But they're saying that you have a medical card from another state, you can't buy it here. The bill just basically states for the cost of a $10 card, you can go ahead and have access to the dispensaries here and get grandma's medicine or whoever else needs it, and they can be covered.
Hmm.
And that would actually it raise approximately $7 million. Hey, Herc, how you doing? This is one of my favorite reporters from. You're still working for Politico, aren't
I'm
you?
with Politico, still covering the industry.
And he's also a Detroiter. Scoot down a little bit.
Go Tigers. That's all I gotta say.
And
Go ahead and say that in there.
Go Tigers. That's all I'm gonna say.
and he's one of the few Armenians in the building, from what I understand.
There's like 4 of us in the
We
building.
lost Zildjian, I think, right? Zilkis, or
Yeah.
was he Czechoslovakian?
No, if he's IAN, he's one of ours.
Ah, I am.
Anyways,
Just wanted you to know,
Yeah.
we do have a bill that got filed today.
which one is it?
Polsky filed our employee protection bill that prevents people from losing losing your job for having a medical card.
That's interesting.
They have not gotten to the committees listed yet, but Polsky is doing the Senate, and I believe Nixon is doing the House version.
So I remember, I think it was a corrections officer who lost his job because he tested positive for marijuana when he has a card to use it medicinally.
That's right.
Yeah, so that would obviously address issues like that.
Now, Eric covers all the regulated industries issues still, right?
Yes, I still cover the industry as its growth. We just had the new application process for the 22 licenses that is probably going to take forever and a day to get through, but it's some progress, better than no progress. As you might remember when we first met in 2017,
Yeah.
we were saying, wow, it's been 4 months and they still haven't gotten it done. Well, it's been several years now. So maybe there'll be more movement in that range.
Have you been covering the Pigford license and
I've
how
been-
that's been going through?
Covering it from afar. I did see the final decision that they determined that the person who had the applicant who had died was no longer subject to the license. So, but I think there's actually a couple more that they're going to have to clear before that license becomes game time. So
Little background check. Monton Hopkins was a guy who put an application in for his family, even though at this point he knew he didn't have much time to live, but he had an expansive family who was well prepared, experienced, and ready to go ahead. And they had a fantastic application. They scored above everybody else. Monton passed away. They figured no problem, the family will get the license. The state of Florida rejected it, gave it to the next person over, the Gueens is the last name, who have already set up a buyer for their license.
yeah.
So it may not even be a minority license at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, even with the Pigfield, some of the applicants were also from the previous iteration of this license. That turned out that it was just a small group trying to pretty much close in on the application so that like only 30 farmers were subject to it. That group got broken apart, but there's still a lot of those applicants you were seeing that were among the 12 who actually applied for that license.
Of the 12, how many are automatically doing the rollover to the next line of licenses that are supposedly going to be opened up in April?
I thought that they were all. I thought that there was except for the one where the gentleman had died. I think the other ones were able to have the opportunity for the same license that we vied by. I think 150 other applicants.
Yeah.
DOH is expecting.
I mean, you get a chance to do it for free, even though their application fee was actually double what everybody else's was when they first put out the first set of licenses.
Right.
But I wasn't certain if all 11 were actually going for the rollover, or they're continuing to fight this particular decision. From what I understand, there are about 11 lawsuits against the first license being put out.
There were a dozen. Now there's 11. So
Yeah, exactly.
that is a slow process. But at the end of the day, we still have. Dispensaries are still opening up left and right here in Tallahassee. So, INSA.
We were driving down the road and everything was smoke shop and dispensary.
Yeah, you got INSA. Jungle Boys is supposed to be coming into West Tennessee Street if you know Tallahassee. I know a lot of people are excited about that. Curaleaf has 2. True Leaf has 2 here. 2 dispensaries here. This is a big medical marijuana town.
In the area between FAMU on one side of the tracks and FSU on the other side of the track, there seems to be almost as many dispensaries as there are Starbucks.
It actually does feel like that. The Starbucks are usually rife with drive-through lines and whatnot that
Well,
we don't have to deal with.
and a fair amount of CBD shops and smoke shops.
Yeah, but that's a story for another day.
Absolutely.
I got to go cover.
Eric, y'all take care.
Always good to see you,
Are
Gary.
you
Thank you,
too?
sir.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Go Giants and Ligers. I love being over here. Just to be able to bump into the folks that we have going.
Yeah, you guys should have seen Gary. He was so excited to like come up here and set up, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. I got some cool microphones, and Gary's like, we gotta find the perfect spot. And yeah, this is actually pretty cool. So like we get to set up and do this show right now, and then over the course of the next 3 days, we're going to be meeting with different legislators, and hopefully we'll be able to get an interview real quick in their office.
Now we got these great little microphones, these portable microphones that look like little Fraggle Rock characters. I think they're so cute. little puff of hair on the top. You know?
I'm happy you like the mics.
I think they are so cute.
Thank you.
And it makes us so much more portable because we're probably going to be going to various representatives' offices and senators' offices and doing a couple of taped interviews that we're going to splice into this weekend. Well, we got some comments coming in from all of our trolls and Barry Gordon.
I already displayed the Barry Gordon one.
Oh, okay, good.
Say hi to Alec.
Eric.
Oh, that's how you spell that.
We didn't touch your stuff, man.
Yeah.
We were considering actually cannibalizing it, but we didn't.
I didn't know what you're up off the second floor. I'm like, guys.
Anyways, the other bills that we're going to be pushing while we're here, besides the outer state visitors thing, is qualifying conditions for the medical use of cannabis. Right now, we only have 10 qualifying conditions. The last one being more lines of make a fit proposition. In other words, if you have a condition of a like or similar nature to the other ones, you can get in, which makes it so that the doctors have to do quite a bit of mental gymnastics in order to fit, say, for instance, chronic anxiety or chronic depression, which are normally parts of PTSD, but not necessarily part of PTSD, as being a reason for being able to use cannabis. That I have added approximately 35 other conditions that have worked in other states and said, here's a long list that we should include in the qualifying conditions. And for those people legislators who didn't want a long list, I said, fine, why don't we do it the way Oklahoma does it? And they just say, if your doctor thinks that you could benefit from this product for your condition, you should be able to have it. That freaked them out entirely. So we're going back to that. We also have the Medical Marijuana Patient Protection Act. That means if you have a medical card and you use this for the use of your condition, you can't be kicked out of an institution like a hospital or a nursing home, and you can't be kicked off the transplant list, because I know that Chris has a good friend who had a hard time getting a liver, I think it was, correct?
I'm not sure what it was, but I know that they were trying to get a liver, a kidney, or something, a heart, brain transplant, something like that. And they said that they couldn't because he smoked weed.
And this is all based on a false premise that cannabis will reduce your survivability if you have a transplant. And so therefore, they're not going to give you somebody else's organ if you're just going to go ahead and just die on them anyway. But the fact is, cannabis does not stop or does not reduce the survivability of a transplant.
That sounds absolutely insane, just to think that somebody's going to die quicker because they use cannabis.
It is.
Because, I mean, is it medicine? I don't know.
And we mentioned the Medical Marijuana Public Employee Protection Act. We also have the Patient Designated Cultivation Centers, which is another way of saying home grow. Basically, what this does is it creates a situation where people can get licenses to take a container, section it off for various people, so that in each area they can grow their own medicine under expert tutelage and under proper conditions and lights and less chemicals. Because in Florida we have a lot of heavy metals in the soil. Now hemp does clean the soil, but hemp isn't always there to do that. So therefore, if you do like hydroponics or at least make certain your soil is not contaminated, you can grow medical grade cannabis as opposed to growing your own booth, which you can get at AMMTCA.
So you have all of these drafted up.
They've all been drafted up.
The public employee protection just went today.
Yeah.
And got sponsored.
Yes, Senator Polsky and Representative Nixon. So if those are your representatives or your senator, by all means, call them and thank them.
So our goal here for the next couple of days that we're here is to get the rest of these bills sponsored.
Yes.
And to push this sponsor bill forward, right? So
yes.
Like we got to find co-sponsors for this one.
The legislators usually find their own co-sponsors. We do try to help them out. But the first thing, of course, is just to get a sponsor so they can file it. And it can be set up for committees, And then the more co-sponsors, the better chance it has of getting into committee.
Mhm.
And the final bill, which is we are
Oh,
trying to
there's
push,
another one. I'm sorry.
there's one more bill, although it's not being filed as a bill. We're
Uh-huh.
going to try to get in as an amendment because it's my understanding that the state of Florida is going to be taking over Child Protective Services. Normally, all those things were contracted out to various private organizations. Those people did not meet their numbers, and many of them lost their contracts, including all the folks from I forget which Eckerd was the organization that lost all their contracts. So they're going to be taking over, and they're going to have to create a legislative set of rules and regulations for that. And what a great way to put in what we call the Parent Rights Protection Act, which basically states if you have a medical card, then and you are making reasonable accommodations to make certain that your kids don't have access to the medicine only you do, you can't have your kids taken away because you have a medical card.
That's
Plain and simple. I think it's a very necessary thing, a very positive thing. And I don't care if they think it's woke or not, because supposedly, this is a place where woke goes to die.
Apparently.
I don't want to.
You keep on saying that. I'm scared.
Well, yeah, I was going to put in wear my shirt that says, I'm woke, try me.
Yeah. Apparently, you have to walk around the Capitol sleepwalking.
Well, supposedly the word woke actually means aware of injustice, correct?
I believe so.
I don't see that as a negative thing.
I believe it means aware, just like you're aware of what's happening. I
Because-
think that's a simple definition of it.
Yeah, I don't want to be asleep with the wheel. I'd rather be awoke at the wheel.
Yeah.
So that's where we stand, and that's why we're here in the state of Florida right now, and that is where we're trying to do while we're here over in Tallahassee.
So the Public Employee Protection was sponsored by Polsky.
Polsky in the Senate, and Nixon, not Agnes Nixon. She's the one who was in Sex and the City.
So,
As Representative Nixon.
so for our viewers, Gary, and for me, honestly, too. What do we have to do to see this public employee protection? This is of everything you mentioned. This is where we've seen the most progress with the topics that we're focusing on in this lobby days. What do we need to see for this to actually go through?
Now that it's filed, it's got to get assigned to committees, and it's got to get agended by those committees. So you have to take a look and see what they will get put on committees. It will be assigned to committees, but they have to actually get on the agenda. So once that list is put out as to what committees they're going to be on, you have to contact the legislators in that committee and say, we want to see this bill on the agenda. It deserves a conversation. It deserves a debate. Can we please have that debate? Even if it doesn't go through, we need to have that debate. We need to have it discussed. The more it's discussed, better chance it has of passing. Plain and simple.
So for everybody that couldn't make it to lobby days, that's what they could be doing to support us.
Absolutely, because a trip to Tallahassee is not that easy.
Yeah.
It's the panhandle. Everybody's got a gun.
It sucks. It sucks up here.
It doesn't really suck. I had the best coffee at the Kiki's here, though. Kiki's is all over the state. But
It's better coffee in Miami. Just saying.
that's coffee con leche, and that's totally different. Now try to get a good horchata down here that's not at 7-Eleven. That's a hard thing. But we are going to be interviewing various representatives and senators while we're here, and we're going to tape it into the archival version of this podcast, and we're going to make it happen. Now, if anybody has any questions for us as to what they can do or what they want us to say to the legislators up here, we're more than happy to listen to it in the comments, as long as it isn't anybody who's trolling us, because if you troll, we will come over and we will bury you. In a nice way,
So that's a good thing. If you want to see a certain question come up to a certain legislator, send us that question. We'll get interviews with other legislators. Who are you most excited to talk to?
Oh, I want to talk to the governor, of course, but I don't think he will.
I don't think the governor will talk to us. I think it's funny because I don't think my parents realize that we try to speak to the governor every year.
Well, a lot of us were concerned. We had quite a few comments from our various trolls about the fact that we are partisan because we have too many people with a D next to their name.
Yeah.
The fact is, we ask Republicans all the time to come on our show, but they won't come on the show. And I guess that's on them because we want to hear what they have to say. I mean, if they have a different opinion, I want to hear what the basis of all that different opinion is. Either it could be something that I've overlooked that I would be interested in hearing, or we could possibly change their mind. But without the conversation, we can't move forward. So we'll be talking while we're here to James Buchanan, son of Vern, because he is the chair of the Agricultural Committee, and we're going to talk to him about that cultivation center bill. One of the things about the cultivation center that the legislators really like is the fact that you can count the number of plants that you have, and you can count the number of plants that you harvested, and so therefore they know that you're not giving it away or selling it to the kids on the block, which is basically what their concern is in regards to home grow, that people are using it as an excuse to distribute. Now, I don't know about you, but if I have medicine that I desperately need, I am not going to be giving it to the kids in the block.
Right.
So what you guys in here for today?
They're scared to talk to you.
Hopefully not. We're not that scary. What are you guys in here for today? What'd you come to do?
We're teaching a class about government agencies.
These are government students. From whereabouts?
They're from all over Florida. I'm from California.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, your governor has great hair. It doesn't go much farther than that for me, but he has great hair.
I concur.
I think it's great to see that they are actually teaching civics in school. Hopefully, they won't drop out all the parts about being woke, because government is about inclusion. It's been about inclusion since our forefathers went ahead and actually said we need to get together a government by the people and for the people and about the people. And everybody that means inclusion. So talking about not wanting to be aware of everybody else's injustice is just wrong.
Sounds like they got a little powwow that's about to happen here.
Yeah,
But,
well, it's a class.
One
you know.
thing that I would like to make sure that
I'm
stays
glad
in
that they're
government
active. That's
classes
important.
is our history.
Yeah.
Yeah, because aren't they trying to like erase a lot of our history and they don't like it?
That's very possible. We have tried to have our history erased before. Reach into my bag there on the side on the bottom part. No, below the one that's on the pocket that's up against the table.
Pocket that's up against the table.
Yeah, the zipper part. There you go.
Oh yeah.
This. This is a copy of the Schaefer Report. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is originally published by the Library of Congress, and this is actually a copy from University of Michigan Library because Ohio State refused to publish it. But we're not going to get into that today, are we? The thing is, this was a report that was commissioned by President Nixon to verify the fact that cannabis should be Schedule 1. Unfortunately for Nixon, after a rigid committee process that took close to a year, they came up with this report which basically says that cannabis possession should not be an offense. And that Nixon hated this so much that he meant to make it legal forever and was actually giving you all the reasons why it should be legal, that he had the report quashed. And that's why you never hear about the Schaefer Report anymore. But we're trying to bring this back into the limelight and let folks know that a government committee that was originally commissioned by the President of the United States, who set up the Controlled Substance Act, says cannabis should be illegal federally. And that would make things so much better for so many of us. I can't guarantee we're going to get a ballot initiative in 2024 in regards to adult use cannabis. I mean, it requires 1 million signatures. Now,
It's well funded though.
the Smart Florida Act has about 260,000 right now. It's taken them about 6 months. We don't know what their saturation point is. Will they be able to get no more than 500,000? Will they be able to get no more than 600,000? And if they are, they're screwed. They got enough right now to get it to the Supreme Court. And they've got to get the Supreme Court to agree that the language is not encumbered by mistruths, so to speak. So we're waiting to see how that one goes. And we also have a ballot initiative out there right now for home grow. And I wish it all the luck in the world. And there is actually a representative who has a bill in Florida to do a recreational program. I don't think it'll ever get to committee, to be honest with you. Not right now with the majority party, which is the Republican Party, currently having a supermajority in the House and the Senate, meaning that the governor cannot veto successfully anything they say, and there can't be any way to stop a bill if the majority wants it, essentially. So the Democrats are not in a good position. But if we can get a bipartisan support, and that means getting the support of the Republicans in there, talking to them and all that bit, because it can't just be partisan on one side and win, unless you're GOP. In which case we could get like, what are the bills they're going this year? Permitless carry. Anybody who doesn't believe in permitless carry should be shot, right?
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, well, I don't know that will go through, but it is a scary thought, because the whole concept of having a permit is not just to verify the fact that you are mentally and physically and capable of having a gun, but that you had the training to know how to use it. And as Gandalf once said, sometimes the greatest knowledge about a weapon is to know when not to use it.
Yeah.
And that is the same thing with a gun, and that's what training is all about. People figure that if they had a gun, they have to shoot it. No, they don't. They don't. It's good to have a gun if you feel you can protect yourself with it.
General safety advice too that you get when you do those things.
We always hear that we want marijuana laws like the Wild Wild West, but they want gun laws like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work. I agree in responsible gun ownership, and I agree that people should be unencumbered from overregulation when it comes to gun ownership. Make sure people have training and have the emotional ability to handle it. Otherwise, we're just going to continue along the same mass shooting thing we're going on through right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, wouldn't you both agree that having adult use cannabis might also decrease the amount of mass shootings they have out there, because of the fact it is actually a treatment for mental illness?
Yeah, it would help.
They complain about the fact that mental illness is one of the reasons for all these mass shootings, and yet the treatment is not there. Not only for people who are mentally ill on the street, but also people who are mentally ill and on the job, including first responders, which is so important. Which is why the reason I have an amendment to our Employee Protection Act, which basically creates a study that verifies if you're a first responder, if you are a medevac person, or you are a fireman or a policeman, and have seen things you cannot unsee, and you have PTSD, you should be allowed to use this for treatment for yourself. Because we rely on those people to save our lives. They should have the right to access to medicine that saves theirs.
I agree. And I think...
and that's my soapbox.
And I think if you own a gun, you should smoke weed. I think you should smoke weed regardless if you have a gun or not. If you own a sword, you should smoke weed.
They have shot people who have brandished swords in this thing. It's kind of like that Indiana Jones thing. The monkey's got a sword kind of thing.
It's just so interesting because, like, first off, like, I mean, you can make the argument that a gun has never killed anybody, that it's people that kill people, not guns. But I mean, whatever argument you want to make in that regard, right? You can make the argument that guns have killed people. It's very hard to make that argument that marijuana has killed anybody. And second, I mean, I have a license in my pocket right now to carry marijuana because of medical conditions, right? But I mean, if I didn't have that license and I was carrying marijuana, I mean, what like, there's no training that needs to go on. There's no, like, it just doesn't make sense. The two opposites here saying that we need to make sure somebody has a marijuana card. We don't need to make sure somebody has a card for a gun. You got your card.
And I do practice what I preach. I believe if you have a condition and medical cannabis treats it, you should have access to that. It's just that simple.
Do you have a gun permit?
No, I don't have a gun permit. I don't feel a need to have a gun. That doesn't mean that I would want to tell anybody they can't have a gun too.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want it doesn't mean that somebody else can't have it. That's rather selfish, don't you think?
I do think
that's almost woke. Now, it's what they call the drawbridge effect, basically. Basically, I can do it, but nobody else can. Because once I get past that and do whatever I want to do, the drawbridge is up and you can't. That's basically the way it works.
Sorry, I was paying attention to this little presentation.
No, this is great. I mean, these kids are having a lesson in civics firsthand.
Uh-huh.
These are our future leaders because we lost a lot of positions in the Democratic Party this year.
A lot.
Yeah, and it happens. I mean, they lost a position not just because of redistricting, but because of the fact there wasn't enough of their constituents who felt they were doing a good enough job. That's also a possibility, and you can't ignore that or deny it.
Yeah.
So this may get a chance for that particular party to get some fresh blood in there with new ideas and people who aren't stuck in the 1950s, 60s, or 70s, or 80s, or 90s.
So Nikki Fried running for the head of the party.
That I think is a positive thing.
Yeah.
Nikki is running for the head of the Democratic Party, so that she will help out those people who want to run for office.
I think
That's what
that's a
it's all
great
about.
thing. I think Florida, the National Democratic Party should probably fund the Florida Democratic Party a little bit better if that's the case. And yeah, we need some help here in Florida.
And the Republican Party has a new head now. Joe Gruters has stepped down, and a guy by the name of Christian Ziegler.
Ziegler?
I don't know how Christian and Ziegler work together, unless he's German and not Jewish. I hope he's Jewish, actually, because that would be nice that we could control that party, too.
Sounds like, yeah, I don't know. The German name has some negative connotations there.
That's a possibility. I
It's
have
not good for Jews.
I have no qualms about the GOP. I am myself an independent, and I do that for a very specific reason, and that is to make certain that I can criticize both sides equally, because it's only through criticism and debate that things can move forward. And the founding fathers actually mentioned that you need to have a bipartisan thing in order to improve, because you have to have at least one opposing side in order to move forward, because moving forward demands debate, it demands conversations. If everybody's on the same side and everybody's a yes man, we're not going to go forward.
I was like you. I didn't want to take a political party.
You were short?
I was
Oh,
short and Jewish. But no,
What a combination, huh?
I wanted to keep my nose clear of any political parties. I didn't want to like register anything. The argument was always that I leaned too far to the left, and there was actually a point in time where everybody thought I was libertarian for some reason. But
Libertarians make great pro-cannabis people. Isn't that right, Steve?
I think so too.
He sold us these hemp shirts, by the way.
This,
Thanks, Steve, for Steve Edmonds for our hemp shirts. But Steve, I need a pocket. Would you make me a pocket so I can put on this thing?
he'll make you a pocket. He's bored. But no, I recently decided to become a Democrat because I think the biggest problem here in Florida is the Republican Party. And I think conservatives are really, it's almost like a Black Lives Matter type thing. What's important right now is Black lives. So what's important right now is to directly oppose the conservative party in Florida. That's my opinion.
No, I wouldn't say oppose them. I'd say educate them.
I would say oppose them. I think they are educated. I think this is I think this is a point in time where they have the education at their fingertips. They can pull out their phone and Google any concept and get a reasonable answer for their question. And at this point, they're just being ignorant.
Well, let me show you an example of education that can be positive. There was a guy in the Republican Party who pushed a 10% THC cap a few years ago, Representative Spencer Roach. This session, he has a bill that will allow telehealth for the redoing of your cannabis card. This is a step in the right direction.
Very good, but isn't he like also directly opposed to like hemp, like free market cannabinoids here?
That I'm going to find out when we talk.
Well, wasn't he like part of the bill that he put forward with Learned last year? Was that we needed to get rid of Delta 8 THC?
That was a part of it that they asked to put in. Yeah, that event that bill never went anywhere. But he is in the process of evolution, which means he is actually listening. And if as they say in sales, if your foot's in the door, you're halfway in.
Barry says
You might have your foot crushed by the door when they try to slam it even harder on you.
Barry says that Roach is still not pro cannabis. Gotta watch his Twitter, Gary. Gotta watch his Twitter.
I can't watch Twitter. Or my wife calls it twanger. I don't know why. I don't know how much long Twitter has left to live, to be honest with you, the way it's going right now. But the point is that we're here to educate those who need education. It's called educate to legislate. And that is what one of the things that NORML does. And that's why if you want to be with us and do these kind of things, you need, we need you to be part of Suncoast NORML. And that means go to suncoastnormal.org and sign up to be a member. So you can come over here and help us move these bills forward and get involved in all the great events that we have that is there to improve the cannabis program here in Florida, wherever it leads. And little bits and pieces. I mean, before they told us we couldn't possibly have a bill even filed. We've proved them wrong. We actually got a piece of a bill that actually passed last session, and that was a sunsetting bill, which basically stated that if you have a license for MMTC and you don't produce within 2 years, you lose that license and it goes back into the bin and gets basically awarded at some time or another in the future to somebody else. And that's one of the reasons that Jungle Boys and Cookies got off their proverbial butts and got the sales started, because they knew that their time was going to run out. And that, I'm talking to you again, Planet 13 and Gold Leaf, and there's a third one there out there that is also still not, is Revolution, that has still yet to actually produce anything or sell anything. And I don't know how soon we're going to get those other 22 licenses. I know the whole process is going to be slow walked. It has been for the last 5 years. I don't see any change in that process. So if we want to have a free market, if we want to have more brands to choose from, lower prices and higher quality, which are all the things that the invisible hand of the economy does when there is actual competition, then we need to have more licenses of different brands.
Right.
With all due respect to that one particular MMTC, which has over half of the licenses, half of the dispensaries here in the state of Florida, we need more diversity of product.
Mm-hmm. I hear you on that one, Gary.
And I'm looking forward to seeing more product coming from Cookies and Jungle Boys. They're a little bit higher price right now, but then again, they come from places that understand that quality costs extra. But we need more competition here. And I'm also looking forward to Gold Leaf, because I've seen their products in other states, and they really actually do care about their product and not just profits.
What we need is a Chillum dispensary to go ahead and go up against everybody.
Chillum, 1714 East 7th Street in Ybor City, where it all began. Just down the street from the house of Victor Licata, who killed his family with an axe, supposedly because he didn't have access to cannabis. Overreaction, I think, on the part of the police who actually think that. and Harry Anslinger, who put it in his Gore files, when in actuality, the dude was bipolar, or what they called dementia precox back in the day.
Yeah.
But he claimed it was because that cannabis drove him to do it, when it was actually lack of cannabis at that time, because his father was actually treating him because he knew it worked for that particular thing. So, of course, you should have put the axe away. Axes don't kill people. Insane people on cannabis kill people.
It's like people without gun permits kill people.
People who have gone to those franchises of axe throwing things, those people I worry about, because they're honing their skills. So if you see a axe flying towards you, I would say duck, or don't turn your back on it, because you never know.
So yeah, anything else we got to tell the people, Gary?
Well, we're going to go to work, and when you see this on the archives, we're going to add on these other interviews that we're going to do at the various offices. I know we're going to be speaking to a couple people, including Representative Henson from Alachua, who is going to have an adult use bill, and Fentress Driscoll, who is a minority leader of the Democratic Party. And I'm going to try to get as many Republicans as possible. I have some rope. I can get them to stand still. It may be illegal. I might have some problems with the Sergeant at Arms, but we're here to have fun, right?
Yeah. All right. Well,
so until then, be a member. Peace out.
Peace. There you go.
Go Bulls.